Alright, we're doing the fourth team now in this review. The Browns have the fourth pick right now. And this is take 3. The Browns have a fourth pick right now. But like I said in the first review, even if their team doesn't have a pick, we're going to put them in where the pick is, and let's just say they'd have the pick. But, I mean, I made that a lot more confusing than it had to be. And the Texans, they looked promising at the beginning of the year. I'm accompanied by the wrinkled up, curly Blake Bortles because of a printer ink or something. I actually don't know. It's just curving in. Soon it'll just be a whole circle of paper. So, beginning of the Houston Texans season. You know what? No. Even before this. So, your Houston Astros win the World Series. Great job, Houston. This has nothing to do with the hurricane. God, why did I say... I was thinking hockey. So, the hurricane hits. Millions of people all around Texas really need some help. And it was really devastating. The Texans had a lot to play for. It was one of those feel-good stories that, hey, they could go on and win the Super Bowl, just like when the Red Sox won the World Series after the Boston Marathon. That didn't actually happen, and the first game of the season, they lose to Jacksonville. Yeah, I feel great for saying that. I feel like a jerk for that. We're going to... Then you have guys like J.J. Watt. He gets hurt. And he's been getting... This is 2 years straight now he's gotten injured. So you have to take a step back and think, I mean... Man, he's getting hurt a lot. We need to find more depth at the end and on that defense. Because Houston's defense didn't look too bad the rest of the season. But they need more depth there, for sure. Because they didn't look terrible, but they didn't look great either. And I think with Watt in there, Houston has a top 5 defense, probably. Even though the secondary looks a little shaky, I'm going to get into the stats pretty soon. I'm looking at my board. Deshaun Watson, he injures his knee or Achilles, I forget which one, after that huge game against the Seahawks where they barely lost, where Watson, I think, had 4 touchdowns, 3 picks that game. And Watson, he came out with a boom. Tom Savage said no one's going to take his team. I think I can cut this out. If I don't, this is going to be really awkward. Savage said that he's not going to let anyone take the team away from him. And at halftime, Watson took the team away from him. Bill O'Brien, that was a horrible decision to think that Tom Savage was actually better than Deshaun Watson. Especially when you traded up to get this kid. And I'm really surprised how Bill O'Brien has his job. I'm going to be completely honest. I love the guy. He's a great person, but I don't know. I really don't know. They traded Dwayne Brown right after the Seahawks game to Seattle. They basically, that's their white flag. And we're going to get into the stats now. Getting into stats, okay. I need to find a better setup. I'm going to try to work on that tonight. I think I might only put out this video, maybe another one. I'll try to get a few up tonight. So the Houston Texans, 4th in the AFC South at 4-12. They average 21 points per game. That's a significant increase over the first 3 teams who only had like 2 touchdowns a game. 17th in the league, 320 yards per game, 20th overall. If Deshaun Watson stayed healthy, that's a top 10 yards and passing yards. Passing yards, 205 a game. That's 21st in the league. Rushing yards, 115, which was 14th. And don't get me wrong, Lamar Miller's a good guy. He's a good guy. I don't know if he's decent. He's not this great stud, but I wouldn't be surprised if Houston, maybe later in the draft, addresses the running back. Even though they took Deontay Foreman, maybe Foreman's their guy. Maybe I'm just crazy. We're going into quarterbacks first. Let me get some water. And Tom Savage led the way in yards. Wait, no, in attempts. Passing attempts. His completion percentage is 56.1. So that is 3 less than our guy Blake Bortles. So I'm making Bortles look really good compared to the quarterbacks of the worst 4 teams this year. So far, Blake Bortles, you're looking really good. Touchdowns 5, interceptions 6, sacked 21 times, and his QB rating was a great 71.4. I'm actually surprised Vinny gets sacked more. Houston's O-line did look pretty shaky, especially after that Dwayne Brown trade, which I get where they were going with it. Brown's getting older. He's a lot of money. Might as well ship him off while he still has value. But after that, their offensive line wasn't great. Deshaun Watson, and he would have been the team's MVP this year if it wasn't for that injury. Deshaun Watson in 6.5 games. 6.5 games. He had 19 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. So he's averaging more than 3 touchdowns a game, but he's also averaging more than a pick a game. He got sacked 19 times, which proves to you that he's elusive. Maybe the line likes blocking for a better guy. I mean, I'd rather want to block better for Deshaun Watson than Tom Savage. And once Watson got injured, Houston's hope was lost. Houston was already sort of in that mediocre mix. After Watson got hurt, they just torpedoed down. And Watson had a 103 QB rating on the dot. And I think it was a smart move. I thought he was the best quarterback in this draft. I thought he'd have something special. And Cleveland, you mess up on taking Wentz and you mess up on not taking Watson. So, I mean, those are 2 franchise quarterbacks he has passed up on. And Wentz's team is going to the Super Bowl. Wentz's team is 13-3. Cleveland, come on. Take Josh Allen. Take Saquon Barkley. There's your chance to turn it around. But I already said that in the Browns review. We'll get into rushing stats. Lamar Miller, 238 attempts, 888 yards, averaging 3.7 yards per attempt. That's the same as Frank Gore. The out of his prime, old Frank Gore. 3 touchdowns, the same as Frank Gore. Lamar Miller, and I'm going to say he's alright. That offense looked dead to me once Watson got hurt. It really did. Deontay Foreman, 78 attempts, 327 yards, averaging 4.2 yards per attempt, and he looks pretty promising his rookie year. He might start next year. Who knows? 2 touchdowns, great. Alfred Blue, 71 attempts, 262 yards, 3.7 yards per attempt, the same as Lamar Miller and Frank Gore. Now, Alfred Blue, I'm expecting him to put up those old Frank Gore numbers, and he also had a touchdown. Lamar Miller, not so much. I actually thought he'd be better than that. Miami, you might have did something right there by not re-signing him. Receiving stats, DeAndre Hopkins, I mean, it doesn't matter if you have a rock throwing to him. He put up great numbers. And it proves, I think, he should be in consideration for MVP. Now let's look at these stats. And he's putting up probably some of the best numbers in the league for having guys like Tom Savage throwing to him, like TJ Yates. And I know less than half of that was Watson. Jesus. Okay. I'm not even going to... Okay. Less than halfway of the season, Watson was throwing to him, and that definitely helped. Let's get into the stats for Hopkins. 96 receptions, 1,378 yards, and 13 touchdowns. This is why Houston won 4 games. Watson, Hopkins, Watson, Hopkins, Watson, Hopkins. It sure wasn't Lamar Miller, who was averaging less than 4 yards per carry, who was doing it. Maybe part of the defense did help that. I mean, you need a defense to help you to win games. I don't know what I'm saying. Let's see here. Outside of that, there's not really anything else. Will Fuller, who looked like... Him and Hopkins were basically... I mean, why wouldn't they be? But they were Watson's top guys to throw to, his favorites. Will Fuller, 28 receptions, 423 yards, and 7 TDs. Fuller battled an injury that put him out for the beginning of the season. Then he is sort of inconsistent and shaky outside of that. And once Watson got hurt, there was no one to throw to him. And I thought that happened to Hopkins too, but no, Hopkins still put up great numbers. Defense, Benardrick McKinney. So there's nobody on this team that had triple-digit tackle numbers. That's concerning. That really is concerning. But McKinney came the closest with 95 combined tackles, 3 sacks and a forced fumble. That's what you'd expect out of McKinney. He is your middle linebacker who can play for another 5 or 10 years. You should keep him. Kareem Jackson, 73 combined tackles, a sack, a forced fumble, and an interception. Zach Cunningham, the rookie out of Vanderbilt that they took in the 2nd round, I think. 90 combined tackles, 1.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. And that's a good rookie year. He's not going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. That'll probably go to Lattimore. But that's still pretty good. And with Watt coming back, it's just the pieces are coming together in that Houston defense again. And it's going to be really scary to watch. And I think they could run Jacksonville for their money. Jadeveon Clowney, 59 tackles, 9.5 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. Let's see if he had any picks. No, he did not. Jadeveon Clowney, he had a great year. And people underrate him and underrate him. They don't think he lived up to the first overall hype or anything like that. Oh, he's not this. He's not that. Oh, he's only good because J.J. Watt plays with him. No. Jadeveon Clowney took over his defense. He's definitely the defensive MVP. I'll get to the team MVP in a minute. Now on to Andre Howell, who led the team in interceptions with 3. 71 combined tackles and 2 forced fumbles. And that's pretty good. Howell was one of those guys who people didn't really know, and people still don't know. But he's more of one of the underrated defensive backs in the league. I mean, he's definitely not the most underrated, but he put up decent numbers this year. And outside of that, there wasn't really anyone else. Whitney Merciless, Whitney Merciless, 10 tackles, 1 sack, and 1 forced fumble. If Merciless didn't get hurt, him and Clowney would have just clobbered teams. And maybe they would have gotten 6 wins this season. So maybe it worked out for Houston that they got hurt. I mean, you never wish for injuries, but in this case, Houston really, I think, benefited from it. Because, yeah, they don't have their first-round pick that turned out to be the 4th pick. But if you didn't trade up, you didn't get Watson, you'd be in a lot more mediocre situation for the next few years. Jonathan Joseph, if he doesn't retire, you guys need to get rid of him. He's too slow. He gets burned a lot. They need youth. They need more youth in that defensive back unit. And that's where they should go in the draft. Yeah, they don't have a first-round pick. Maybe you trade up. Maybe you get into that first round. There's not a lot of cornerbacks who I think are going to be studs outside Fitzpatrick and that Iowa guy, I can't remember his name. But if Houston can get a corner, that defense is going to look scary. We're going to need to address the offensive line in the offseason. Outside of that, I mean, Fedorowicz, if he can quit getting concussions, he's fine. But if he does, you're going to need a tight end. You're going to need a halfback because Miller's not putting up great numbers. I mean, if you're averaging what Frank Gore's averaging, and Gore even got more rushing yards than him. I think that Houston needs a running back. It's not your number 1 need because you still have Deontay Foreman there. And maybe Miller turns it around the next season when Watson comes back for Watson to take some of that load off of him. That's all I have to say for the Houston Texans since they don't have a first-round pick, so there's not much more I could say about the draft. Offseason, address defensive backs, offensive line, and then maybe halfback or tight end. If they get all that, I won't say Super Bowl, but they're definitely going to make a run in the playoffs. That's it for all. Next we have the Denver Broncos, and that's going to be an interesting one to do. That's it for all. Me and Blake Bortles are signing off.